Welcome to BlackUSA.news morning show. I'm your host, William Honolulu Jr. Join us as we explore the news and opinions that impact our community. We break down how the major stories have a very personal, local, and racial impact. No topic is off limits, but even if the conversation gets rough, we're always going to keep it real. Greetings and salutations to all my people out there in internet land. I am William Honolulu Jr. And I have the privilege and the honor of serving as the host of the BlackUSA.news morning show. For those of you all who just left Donnie, he was talking to jazz aficionado and legendary Baltimorean Gary Ellerby about the intersection of, the influence of jazz on the rest of the art forms that followed it, and how Baltimore really kind of led the way in many cases regarding music, entertainment, art, and how, the Harlem Renaissance, some elements of it were inspired by things that happened in Baltimore. Recognizing that Baltimore was kind of the proving ground for a lot of the artists who went on to become famous around the Chitlin Circuit, and also talked about how the Chitlin Circuit, when you look at the map of the Chitlin Circuit, overlay the sundown towns and things like that. It was a really amazing conversation, and I'm just glad that we got to be a part of it. Today is a sad day in Baltimore. It is Wednesday, January 26th, 2022. And 3 firefighters have lost their lives in a blaze yesterday, a partial collapse of a building. Lieutenant Paul Buttram, firefighter, paramedic Kelsey Sadler, and EMT firefighter Kenny Lacayo. These community members came to save other members of our community, and they lost their lives. EMT firefighter John McMaster was also seriously injured, and he's clinging to life right now. One of the challenges for me, in addition to the just unnecessary loss of human life, is the fact that in 2015, the same home was on fire, and it injured 3 paramedics, 3 firefighters, if I'm not mistaken, at the time. This property is a vacant property in Baltimore, one of the over 18,000 that we have. And there is no quick fix. And I don't want to jump on the bandwagon of saying we need to do this program or that program or this program or that program. It needs to be a comprehensive strategy, because the root of the lack of economic investment that led to the death of these 3 firefighters is the same type of economic development that has led to the loss of life through gun violence and the proliferation of drug culture. Donnie talks about it all the time that, on certain corners in Baltimore, there are some places where it's so out of control, the police just have to sit there and watch. But the police can't do it on their own. Our elected officials can't do it on their own. We have to all work together. And I'm not going to turn this into an argument right now about affordable housing or anything like that, or what's happening in the real estate market. But I just ask that we take a few moments of silence to extend our well wishes, our prayers, and our support to their families, to their loved ones, and to firefighters all across the world. Thanks. I appreciate that. I think it's important that we honor people who do good work in our community and for our community, and so I am grateful to their families and friends who gave us an opportunity to have them in our lives and to share them with us. So yeah. Moving back on to what we do here, we bring you all information that helps us build as a community, that are focused on Black issues and some of the challenges that we have in the Black community, and not just talk about them, because that's not that helpful. We not talk only talk about it. We come and figure out what resources we can access. I bring you subject matter experts and a new fast friend today, Glenda Lezeau. She is going to come and talk to us about being bipolar and what that's like and her journey. She's an author. I'll talk a little bit more about her later, but you all are in for a treat today. Want to say a big shout out and thank you to the super producer, Crazy Horse Morgan, making sure that we stay together and have a quality show. So big ups to him. But I got to talk. I got to talk about the people who make this possible, our sponsors. Big shout out to the Warrior Lawyer, J. Wendell Gordon. He is known as the Warrior Lawyer because he gets into court and he wins. He fights for his clients and he gets the results that they're looking for. And sometimes it's really helpful when you're in a situation facing the criminal justice system, is to have someone ahead of you with a reputation. Because it lets the prosecutors know, they're like, well, wait a minute, we need to make sure we bring our A game because he got an A game or she has an A game lawyer. So if nothing else, if you find yourself on the wrong side of the criminal justice system, you or a loved one, please don't hesitate to reach out to the Warrior Lawyer and let him fight for you. Oh, you know what? That'd be a good slogan. Reach out to the Warrior Lawyer and let him fight for you. Oh, if you use that, yo, dude, if you use that, we're going to talk about this later, because if I need some help, you know what I'm going to do? First, I'm going to stop by Darker Than Blue and get me something to eat, because Darker Than Blue has some amazing food, has incredible customer service, and guess what? They are active in the community. They support nonprofit organization and community programs throughout Baltimore, and they've been doing it for a long time. They're not new to this, they're true to this. Hey, Michael, good morning. Good morning, Tampa. So stop by Darker Than Blue, get your eat on. And I didn't eat before this, so every time we look at this ad in the morning, I'm sitting here like, why did I not eat breakfast? Oh my God. You know what? I wish they were open for breakfast. I'd run over there before the show and come in here with like grease all over my mouth and stuff. It'd be awesome. STEM City USA, we are doing some amazing work in the metaverse. Big shout out to Tyrone Taborn, Dr. Taborn, and his staff over there. BlackUSA.news is I think we are the first multimedia company to be streaming, Black multimedia company to be streaming in the metaverse. And so it's a really big honor for all of my peoples out there in the metaverse. I don't have my Oculus yet, but once I do, I don't even know how to do the show with the Oculus goggles on. We'll figure it out, though. Dr. Taborn's going to put us on game. Now, if you find yourself dealing with some civil issues, you need to make sure you holler at Murphy, Falcone, and Murphy. And not just if you find yourself in civil litigation or custody issues, but if you're looking to improve the community, if you believe that there's some laws that need to be changed or what have you, reach out to Murphy, Falcone, and Murphy. Like I tell you, Judge Murphy has been fighting for civil rights for Black people since I've been an adult. So they got the time, the effort, and the credibility to make this happen. And you all know I love me some Edible Arrangements. Big shout out to them for all of their support and for having amazing fruit all the time. It is amazing the quality of fruit that they have. And again, what does William like? William likes the pineapple with the white chocolate on it. So again, celebrations, what are we doing? Pineapple with white chocolate on it. There we go. And my company, The Grinding Gang, we have free membership because we really want to help you take your business to the next level. It is hard out here to work through business, to try to figure out what do I need to do next, or what do I need to do with all this information that I have. The reality is that as the owner of a business or the founder of a business, the only thing that you bring to the business that you can't hire somebody else for or outsource is decision making for your business. So that means that developing the skills to get through kind of the noise and all the information to make really good business decisions that you can take action on and grow your business, that is one of the key elements of being successful. You can find somebody else to help you with just about anything else you need to do. So we help you figure out what to do with that information and also develop a business system that you can scale and really take advantage of some of the things that are happening in the market space. All right. Woo, 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 woo. That's a lot. Um, oh, I like to recap the shows. You all remember yesterday's show? If you weren't here for yesterday's show, you missed a really big deal. We had Dr. Monica McCall from Creative Options, talking about working with our family members and loved ones who may have disabilities. I talked to her a lot about my brother who's developmentally delayed, and some of the revelations that I learned about him. I thought, I was an ally. And I was an advocate for him, but realizing that I was advocating for him, but not with him. I figured that I knew better because I was normal. Hell, I'm advanced. So I naturally should know better. But the arrogance that because he is differently abled than me, that I should just make all the decisions and ask him kind of like I would a child, just very pejoratively, oh, what do you want? Okay. And give it that type, as opposed to recognizing that this is a man. He might not think the same way that I do, but he is a grown man and I should respect him as such. And I'm grateful for having a good morning, Rico. But I'm grateful for having opportunities to talk to people like Dr. McCall so that we can remember that people are people. We get so caught up in their categories that we miss the opportunity to appreciate, love, and work with them directly. So we don't want to do that no more. Tired of doing that. That's foolishness, damn it. All right, so let's see what else we got going on. So that was a wonderful show. Let's see. Oh, big, huge, macious shout out to Shamel Washington, an amazing educator in Baltimore City Public Schools. But even more than being an amazing educator, she is the mother of the most amazing little girl, my god baby Simone. So big shout out to her, and big ups to Fosterpreneur. Fosterpreneur is launching their spring cohort, or we're launching our spring cohort. I work with the organization, and big ups to Erica for giving me some merch so I can rep Fosterpreneur and what we do there. Um, so big shout out to Erica, because again, it's really important that we take the resources that we have and we invest them in the community. That we are the voice for those whose voices may not be as loud or as recognizable as others. And we have a wonderful opportunity to learn more about how to do that today. We have an opportunity to talk to Glenda Lezeau. She is the author of Letters to My Bipolar Self. Her journey in discovering what it meant to live with bipolar disorder. And a lot of times, one of the first things when you have a diagnosis, mental health or physical health, is getting past your own ignorance. Understanding that, hey, all of the stuff I may have thought I knew may not be true. So let me drop some facts on y'all before I bring her. I'm not trying to steal her thunder or nothing, but I just want to show y'all I'm prepared. I know stuff, okay? So facts are, there is not just one bipolar. Bipolar is categorized into different levels, and I'm sure Glenda will reach to that. But a lot of times we come to the table because it helps us engage them and say, "Oh, you are bipolar," and everything that I've heard on TV and from my friends, colloquially in the Ooh, I'm about to get myself worked up. I apologize. Trigger warning. Trigger warning. Okay. Because I get really upset when we try to just categorize people, especially around mental health, because you can't see that. You don't understand what it means. So yeah, this is. Oh, y'all, I just realized this is going to be a really, I apologize for what's about to happen to y'all because I don't know if I could maintain the filter. I'm just letting you know because I'm sitting here thinking about one of my friends in particular who had a rough go at it because of bipolar disorder, and not because she had the disorder, but because of the way that people addressed her and engaged her in life. So okay, I'm gonna try to keep it together, but um, hmm, um, just like we talk about other mental health challenges, bipolar disorder looks different for different people. So you may actually know somebody or yourself may have been diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Just because that happened to you or just because you know that doesn't mean that now you can apply that to everybody. The same way that if somebody's like, oh, I have a Black friend named William, you must be like him. Do you know him? That probably doesn't feel good to me. And that might get you like plucked in the lip. We're not punched in the lip, but maybe a little pluck in the lip. But we are so comfortable doing that. And we don't, again, like we talked with Dr. McCall about, sometimes we don't recognize our privilege, our ability privilege. And we figure people who aren't like us, we could just categorize them all together. But all right. The other part is don't get comfortable throwing around those titles real quick, because trained, seasoned, licensed, studied mental health professionals have a difficult time diagnosing bipolar disorder, because a lot of the components or a lot of the symptoms of bipolar disorder actually are common with other disorders or other mental health issues, or just being a regular fuck. Ooh, wow. Came close. I ain't trying to get a fine. I apologize. You know what? I'm gonna just take a 20 out and put it on the side, because I see this is not gonna go well already. But they're people, and it looks like some of the symptoms look like being a person going through people stuff. And so just being there and saying, "Oh, you must be bipolar," because the myths and stereotypes that I have in my mind, you appear to fit them, and so now I will explain. I read a website, and so now I know what to do with you. Bipolar is not something that's rare. They try to make it seem like it's a 1 in a bazillion chance, like a lottery winning. But like 2.8% of the population have bipolar disorder. That's like 10 million people. That's just in the United States. I'm sorry, real quick. Those are the ones that we know about. Because the reality is that people could live with bipolar their entire lives. It's a continuum. They may never know. So we have an opportunity to not be ignorant. Isn't it great? That's what you come to the morning show for, to not be ignorant, baby. Well, all right, let me bring to our set Glenda Lezeau. Hey.
Oh,
How you doing?
I'm good. How are you?
Doing okay? No, okay. Oh yeah, I had to let Brandon. Yeah, I got to put $20 in the jar because I can feel it coming. Because because it's and so let me put the context. So I have a friend, and she had been suffering a lot of her life through with mental health. It looked like because of the her mother had mental health disorder, and was diagnosed with schizophrenia, and so things like she would put her out just randomly because I know you're going to get me, and I know you're plotting against me, and just put her out, to the point where my friend had to start leaving like safe packs around the city, so that when she got put out, because you never knew when it was going to happen.
Yeah.
There'd be someplace, at least, you had some clothes, a couple of dollars or something like that. And so, just kind of assume that, because that sounds pretty damn traumatic. And just assuming that some of the challenges were based on that. Mm-hmm. But it took her 15 years to get the appropriate diagnosis.
Okay.
And I often think, like, if we could have if we could have known something sooner. Mm-hmm. Like, and now, again, life isn't wonderful, but it's manageable a lot more than it was before, because she used to tell me that it just felt like it happened. So that's the context. I just want to let people know, like, because if and this is also evidence. So when I get my fine, I explain in advance why things got a little off the rails, maybe.
Yeah.
But that and maybe that's just a very unique experience. So let's start. So I want to put the context. So let's start with you, because we want to talk about you and your experience, because bipolar disorder is a very personal. It's a very personal journey, and it was really great that you shared that. So tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Don't even know where to start, but I'll start in 2011. That's the best place to start. So I graduated college May 2011, and November 2011. So just months after graduating, thinking that, my life is beginning. I'm going to get a good job, all this, amazing time to be a grown up, all that fun stuff. But then November 2011, I woke up one Saturday morning with hallucinations, delusional thoughts, paranoid thoughts. I completely lost perception of reality. Never experienced anything like that before. I wasn't eating. I wasn't myself. I was just pacing up and down the house. My family didn't know what was going on, and it was so bad they had to call 911. So I was to the hospital, and I think they were trying to figure out, is this mental or is this neurological, or did she take something? Even though I I've never taken drugs, or I don't really drink. They just wanted to just make sure, because like nothing like this has ever happened. Let's make sure it's not something that she took, because
Right.
I'm not in the right state of mind. So I can't even really speak and say, no, I
Right.
didn't take anything. I'm not really receptive. People are talking to me. I hear you. Sometimes I don't hear you. And so I'm rushed to the hospital. And the next day, they were like, you had a mental breakdown. And I was just like,
Mhm.
my goodness, that was a mental breakdown. Like, you hear the
Like, I
term.
just graduated college. Hello, that's for like older white women who drink a lot of wine. That's not
Or
me.
like you hear celebrities who have breakdowns, but you
Right.
don't really know what it is. You're like, okay, she had a breakdown, but what is that? And it was just so intense. And so I wasn't really admitted into the hospital. I was in a section called like triage, where it's like trying to figure out, do you need to be hospitalized? Do you
Right.
need to be discharged? So they actually released me, and my parents took me to a private psychiatrist. And then the private
Gotcha.
psychiatrist was saying, and so just so that people are clear, I know people get confused with this a lot, the difference between psychologist and psychiatrist.
Okay. Yeah,
Simply,
we here to educate people and let them know.
yeah, the best way to remember is psychiatrists. They're doctors. They're an MD. They went to medical school. Now,
Okay.
you may find some psychologists who may have a doctorate or a PhD,
Right. But they
but
didn't go to medical school.
correct, they're not an MD. So psychiatrists are the one who prescribe medication.
Mm-hmm.
Psychologists cannot. And so they took me to a psychiatrist, and they were just like, okay, I was somewhat doing better, but they told my parents, if you see the symptoms come up again, give her this. And
Right.
so for like a day and a half, I was amazing. Like I felt really good. Even my family saw it. I'm getting up, I'm doing laundry, I'm doing all these great things. And I relapsed. And this is literally within 2 or 3 days. I relapsed. The symptoms come back, this time a lot worse. To the point where I'm up all night. I'm having the symptoms straight for 2 days. I'm not myself. I'm not eating. Nothing's happening. My parents did give me the medication. It wasn't really doing anything. And so I was rushed to the hospital again. And that I was actually admitted into the psychiatric unit.
Okay.
Now, when I was admitted into the psychiatric unit, that's when they diagnosed me with bipolar.
Okay. So let's kind of take a step back in your journey. Okay. Again, a lot of us don't understand a lot about bipolar disorder. Was there, looking back on it, were there indications where it's like you could have been like, oh, that's probably why I did that, or was this just happened?
Definitely indications. I don't know if I can say it's indications of bipolar per se, but definitely mental health challenges, 100%. I was dealing with depressive states. I was dealing with anxiety. I was completely in denial, though, so I wasn't getting the help that I needed. But for about 7+ years before this breakdown, I was having symptoms.
Okay. So that I mean, I'm just sitting trying to think of, because I had a fever once, and it's nothing the same, and I had a hallucination. And it was I did not like that at all, because I was sitting talking to Zeus, doing some work at a table, and it all made sense. Like I was talking to the Greek god, and it made perfect sense. And the funny part is that one of my friends was in the hallucination, and the only way I knew that it wasn't real is that she went and got leftovers, and no matter how crazy I was, I knew that she would never eat leftovers. So I was like, wait a minute. But talking to Zeus the whole time, oh, that made perfect sense. He was actually pretty helpful. And so I can't imagine like being in that state for a prolonged period of time and then feeling good and then going back there. So what was that like?
It was a lot. Before I say what it was like, I'm actually curious, what kind of hallucination did you have? Was it a full hallucination? Like you completely
full blown auditory and auditory and visual immersive. Fully immersive.
So you lost, so you weren't even in the space, in the reality space. You weren't, that's a full, So I experienced hallucinations like that. The thing is, the type of breakdown that I experienced, they call it a psychotic breakdown, right? So I was experiencing psychosis. Psychosis can incorporate delusional thoughts, paranoid thoughts, hallucinations. So I was having a psychotic breakdown. And so what was happening for me is it was just back to back to back to back. So it was, okay, cool, one visual hallucination. Then it was, okay, move it to the next. Then, oh, you're back to reality, but now there's an auditory hallucination. It was just like a constant back to back to back to back. I didn't even know what was coming next.
Right.
I didn't even know in the moment I was even experiencing psychosis.
Whether it was real or not.
Yeah, and I was convinced it was real. Like, it wasn't a situation where I'm like, is this not real? It was like, no, this is my reality. And unfortunately, the type of psychotic symptoms I was experiencing, it wasn't anything like, ooh, I think that's $1 million right there. Let me go walk to it. It was literally, think of your worst nightmares. That's
Yeah.
what I was experiencing. So I thought that was reality. So I could give you an example of that. So one example I talk a lot about, I had a full blown visual hallucination similar to what you had with Zeus. So I was no longer in the space I was in. I was in the back seat of my dad's car. My dad's driving. I'm behind my dad. I don't remember if my mom was next to me. And we're driving and we're crossing a huge intersection, maybe like, I don't know, like a 6-car lane, like
Hmm.
huge intersection. We're crossing it, we're driving, and I look to my left out the window and I see an ambulance, I see an accident happen, and I'm looking at it. And this part I don't remember too well, but there was someone on a stretcher. I don't remember if it was a body bag or an actual person.
Hmm. Hmm.
Either way, I'm looking and I'm like, I can't believe I might have killed someone. I can't believe I was part of that accident. And then we just drive it, and then the hallucination ends. And so that's just one example of what I was experiencing. I mean, it was just all types of thoughts and beliefs and
Hmm.
delusions
Hmm.
and
Hmm.
thinking it's real and all these paranoia. And just especially that Saturday when I first had the experience, I kept hearing a helicopter
Hmm.
swarming around the house, and I was convinced, yep, they're here for me. I committed a crime, or I'm being framed for a crime. Like, it just so many things happening at once. It was very, very scary. There are times where I was literally just screaming, but my
Hmm.
family didn't know why I was screaming because they can't see the hallucinations I'm
Right.
having. They don't even know I'm having hallucinations.
Right. 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 Right.
So it was very scary because I was just like, how did my life get so horrible? Like, it's like, I was like,
What did
it
I
was
do?
weird. But like you said, I couldn't process to be like, Glenda, this is not real. You can't believe. I couldn't process that in the midst of it.
And so it's funny that we talk about this often in the show, is about the stories that we have in our head, and we talk about them more colloquially about how it shapes our engagement with other people.
Yeah.
So if I believe that the only reason you're doing this, um uh the only reason you're doing this is because you have this, that's a thought in my head, and I'm engaging you from
Mhm.
with that intention.
Yeah.
And we talk about that a lot, and we have a lot of illustrations, like, I've never been to London, but I know that they drive on the opposite side, and would be willing to argue with somebody about it, even
Right.
though I have no primary information about that.
Mhm.
What you're describing sounds like something very similar, like a piece of information that we have in our head that
Mhm.
we didn't create, that just kind of gets dropped in, and there's
Yeah.
no real way to distinguish what's
Yeah.
real and what's not.
Yeah.
So Brandy said, were you laying down like when it happened? I'm not quite sure.
No, no. I was just pacing back and forth. And then
Mm,
I definitely wasn't laying down. I don't fully know the extent of what I was doing because sometimes I was having a full visual hallucination, but I was standing up for the most part, standing
okay.
up, just like constantly pacing. And then there were times where I was back in quote unquote reality, but I was still having delusions or paranoid thoughts.
Like
Like, I could still,
parts of it, yeah.
right, exactly. I'm still talking to my dad a little bit, and then paranoid thoughts come up, and then I'm saying things that are not making sense. But no, it was not something where it's like I was just laying down. I was just standing, and I wasn't eating. I wasn't drinking. Like, it's like, was I feeling hungry? Actually, I don't even know if I used the bathroom. I mean, maybe I had to have used the bathroom. I don't know because I'm in
Maybe
and out
not,
of
though.
reality.
Like, because the reality is that the mind will override all of the physical components of the
Yeah,
body. Like, so if your mind says we're not going to poop, guess what you're not going to do?
yeah,
You're not going to poop. I mean, real talk.
yeah,
So so on this one hand, you're experiencing this, and again, I can't imagine anyone not believing that this is a traumatic, the experience, not even the diagnosis, but the
yeah,
experience to be that far out of control of your
yeah,
own body and mind
yeah,
is traumatic by itself. Because if nothing else, we always know we can count on ourselves.
right.
And so again, so that's the one thing you're dealing with.
Hmm.
Now, this diagnosis of bipolar disorder.
Yeah.
What are people saying to you? Like, what is the world? How is, because this is and not just for you, but for your parents, this is
Yeah.
traumatic. Like, to
Yeah.
see your baby there, and there's nothing that you can do. You don't even
Yeah.
understand what's happening. So it's one of the things where everybody is dealing with it at the same time, kind of like us in COVID now.
Exactly.
And we don't. What do you do? Do we not go out? Do we stay in? So
Exactly.
how was the world? How was your engagement? Well, at least what you can remember, what you can share.
Yeah. So when it came to the diagnosis, the way the I don't know if it was a doctor or social. I don't really remember who diagnosed me, but when I was diagnosed, that was an experience within itself, because the way I was diagnosed, it was okay, so you've been here for X amount of time, because they take a few days before they really diagnose you, because they're observing you and all of that. And they're just like, okay, so you have bipolar 1. This is a chronic condition. And they just kind of just said it very like, sucks to be
Matter of
you.
fact,
Yeah, like this is a chronic condition and just good luck type of like perception. And then I freaked out. I'm like, chronic condition, what does that mean? I've never been like chronic before, like for anything. Like I have a chronic condition. It was just like, I was just like, it was
and it's one that nobody really talks about except in hushed tones.
Yeah. So it was like, you hear the term bipolar, but it's like, what does that mean? And now you're telling me, oh, chronic condition, this is lifelong type of good luck type of situation. And then it was very disempowering. It was very disempowering. And I freaked out at first. And I I started crying, and I opened up to someone else I was hospitalized with. And he actually made me feel better. He was like, Glenda, you're good. It's okay. It's okay. And then once I got over that hump, I was just like, all right, it's okay. We got this. So that's what happened from the like clinical side. But in terms of environment and my support system, I am just beyond blessed. My family they were just extremely supportive. When I was hospitalized, my dad was retired at the time, so he would visit me twice a day, because in the psychiatric unit, it's a little bit different than a regular hospital. And so
visiting hours.
Exactly, a specific time. It's like from 2 to 4 you can visit, and then again 7 to whatever it is. And so my dad would come twice a day, and each time my dad came, he would bring another family member, whether it's my mom coming from work or my sister coming from school, or uncles and friends and cousins. So I was so grateful to be able to have family that were very supportive. It didn't matter what the diagnosis was. It was just more so like, okay, this is my friend, cousin, family member, daughter, sister. Like, we're showing up to support. And ironically enough, the same. It's beyond beautiful. I don't even have the words to express gratitude to my family. But the same guy that helped me get over the bipolar diagnosis, he was like, you know what, Glenda? Like, I've been here for a little while, and I've never seen anyone have so many visitors. And I was just like, oh, because I mean, I have nothing to compare to. I mean,
right. This is brand new for you.
Yeah, I'm just like, oh, it's not normal. People don't get this many visitors. Like, I'm just like, so thankfully had an amazing support system, and continue to have an amazing support system.
So let's talk about your support system. What made them amazing? Because and we talk about this on the show often about mental health. Sometimes in people's efforts to help you, they actually do more harm. I mean, I know in times where, like, I know in the past where friends have had to deal with like relationship or emotional upheaval, at points in time, it's like, well, let's just go hang out. Let's just go do something. You want to do it was this distraction as opposed to trying to help them deal with it. But that was the best I could do. I thought I was helping. Yeah. And so you have this wonderful experience of having some amazing people in your corner. What was it about them besides just them showing up? Because sometimes we think that that's it, but if you show up and you agitate me, you're probably not being helpful. So what about them made them amazing?
Yeah, it was. So I do still think showing up is that's very important. You're right. Of course, if someone's triggering you, it's kind of like, okay, whoa. But generally speaking, like, there's different ways to support people. And for some people, it means showing up, and that's great. Like, we need that. I think part of showing up for me, that was big. When you're in the psychiatric unit, it's a very interesting experience. Just to give you a bigger perspective. So I was hospitalized in 2011, and unfortunately I was hospitalized again in 2017. And in 2017 I was hospitalized in 2 different hospitals. So I've had 3 hospitalizations in total. The first one actually wasn't as bad. It actually felt good in a weird way, because there was like activities and people would come in and do workshops, and it wasn't too bad. But in terms of the other hospitalizations, you really start to almost lose yourself. Like, you start to question, like, who am I? It's very dehumanizing. So to see a familiar face, to see, I know my dad's gonna come, twice a day, be like, okay, this is the only thing I'm looking forward to today. There's nothing else for me to look forward to. It's like, okay, familiar faces. Oh, that's Glenda. Like my sister, for example, like she'd sometimes bring like my favorite pizza. She's like, okay, hospital food is not good. Here's your favorite pizza. Let's eat it. She got pizza. Let's eat it together. Like reminding me like, oh, okay, I'm Glenda. There's a Glenda outside of here. I'm not just this Glenda that's stuck in this space that's really confining, really. And like even if the windows are blurred out, it's just a whole experience. And so reminded me who I am outside of that space was really important. Also, it was very non-judgmental. It wasn't like, I don't understand why you're here, Glenda. It doesn't make sense. There's no about that. It was just, okay, how you doing? Okay. And then when I'm like, I want to get out of here. It's okay, Glenda, be patient. Okay, you will. All right. It's no problem. Like, I remember I had an uncle call me from Florida. He was like, hey, listen, okay, you get better. Come to Florida, all right? I'm waiting for you, okay? And I'm like, all right. And you're like looking forward to it. So like, yeah, that's a good idea. Florida sounds good, right?
Yeah.
So I think it was the non-judgmental aspect and just the love. Like, I may not understand what symptoms she's having, what the diagnosis is. I may not understand why she's even here or what this is, but it's like, this is my child. This is my cousin. This is my friend. I'm just showing up. And it's like, we're here. Like, still love you. You're fine. You're still Glenda to us.
Right. Wow. That is amazing.
Yeah.
And an amazing blessing on top of it all.
Yeah.
Because, there are a lot of us who don't necessarily get that type of support
right
in normal life.
Yeah.
And also to have the resources to do that.
Yeah.
And I think that is one of the things, want to talk about a little bit more, like when it came time to start your healing journey, because again, there's a whole point of this where you're just trying to get through the trauma and people are like, well, you should get over it. I'm sorry, stuff is still happening right now. Like, you're just over it. It's kind of like we talk about the issues around democracy right now.
Yeah.
We can't talk about getting over the threat to democracy when it's currently being threatened.
Yeah.
And so you had to get over that first part about just being bipolar. Like, what does that mean? Because it's a totally new lifestyle. And so once you had that part and you started healing.
Yeah.
And so I want to make sure that as we're talking about this kind of healing journey, that you're not talking about, let me get away from bipolar. You're not talking about like, how do I manage it? This isn't a clinical, your book isn't a clinical piece. Talk more about what that journey looks like and what kind of the goals are for you.
Right. So I must say, while I was hospitalized, I was very optimistic. I was once I got over the hump of the diagnosis, I was very driven. I was very determined. To be quite honest, I had a breakdown and it did break me into pieces, but I also experienced a rebirth at the same time. And so as I experienced that, it was actually very empowering. It was like, all right, we got to do this. What do we have to do to conquer this? Therapy, been avoiding that for a very long time, but we're doing that. We're going to therapy.
If that's what we got to do, okay.
Like, I was literally, when we'd have like sessions in the psychiatric unit, again, that only really happened the first time around, but I was taking notes. I was like, excuse me, can I get paper? What did you say? Like, I was just very determined, very passionate about it. And that was the moment where my business was, in a sense, placed in my heart. I didn't quite pursue it at the time, but I felt like I need to help people. So I think it was important to have that within myself, but I was also blinded on what the journey would look like. I really thought it was like, oh, let me just heal for like 2 years and I'll be good. Bipolar aware, all of that. And the journey was like, no, that's not it. That's not it.
Okay.
So I was a little naive with it, but I was determined. And also another thing that I recognized, I had a lot of epiphanies while I was in the psychiatric unit. Besides recognizing that I need to take care of my mental well-being, I also recognized that I needed to go on a self-love journey as well. Because as I was reflecting, and I was just like, you know what, Glenda, you barely liked yourself. And I think this is one of the reasons why you're even here. So yes, you need to take care of your mental well-being, but you need to take care of yourself. You need to learn how to love yourself. You need to go on a self journey, a holistic journey. And that's what I did. Still on the journey, because it's still a journey. It's always going to be a journey.
Right.
I can honestly say that because of bipolar, I've accomplished so much with myself. I'm so much more connected to myself. I'm honestly living a better
Give
life
me, hey, Glenda, give me just a second.
Sure.
Okay, I'm gonna take you off and then bring you back on because it sounds like you're a little garbled. I don't know if that's just me, so let me do that. All right, let's try it now.
What up, what up, what up?
Oh no, you're still garbled to me.
Oh
Let me.
no.
Yeah.
You're muted.
Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Yeah.
Okay.
There's
Something. Echo.
yeah.
Oh my god.
I think you're muted.
So I'm feeling. This is what happens in real life. Ha 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 ha. Disruptions to life, and apparently they happen to me quite frequently. I'm beginning to believe that this is a plot to undermine my multimedia credibility or some such nonsense, but it's okay. I will overcome. Damn it. Okay, I don't know if that gets charged to the game because that wasn't thing. Before we left, we'll call that a commercial break. Before the commercial break, what were you saying? I apologize.
Yeah, I was just saying I went on a holistic journey. It wasn't just, oh, I have to manage bipolar, I have to manage my mental well-being. It was like, okay, how do I develop myself on a deeper level? How do I go on the self-love journey? Who is Glenda? Like I said, it was a rebirth. And that's a journey within itself. But I think it was helpful for me to not just focus on mental health, but just like, okay, let's just learn about self-development as a whole.
Sorry, I apparently
$40.
cursed again. Yeah, that didn't see. I did. Apparently that happened. All right, so um, I think that is a really good place to kind of anchor into for a couple of minutes, because if you start on the holistic journey, it's kind of like if you keep the house clean, you tend not to lose things as often. It's like if you lose stuff, then you have to go through and all of this stuff to figure it out. But if you keep cleaning along the way, and so it sounds like if you start with if you focus on your mental well-being and as part of your normal thing, if you are developing any type of symptoms, sounds like you may be able to catch them earlier than you would just trying to live through life.
Yeah.
So what does that look like for you now?
So I'm going to answer that in two questions, because in theory, yes, what you're saying is right? Like, it's like if you have like maintenance and, it should work, but we're also human and we have limited consciousness. So sometimes we miss things, right? So, and that's a perfect example with how I told you in 2017, I had another psychotic breakdown, and I've been on the journey for 6 years, and I was doing a pretty good job in, like you said, like that cleaning, the maintenance. I was in therapy, I was doing this. There's a period of time where I did stop therapy though, because my therapist felt like I was doing well, but I was doing all of that and still had another psychotic breakdown because I had missed certain things, right?
Okay.
So what does the maintenance look like for me? The first thing is self-check-in. I am constantly checking in myself, probably more than the average person does, because I know I have bipolar. I know I have a history of psychosis. Like any little thing is like, wait a minute, I've had anxiety for 2 days. It's like, and then I start freaking out sometimes. My therapist is like, oh, this anxiety. I think you're good. But it's really paying attention to things and checking in with myself. And there are times if I'm having, let's say hypothetically, an anxiety episode, and it just seems to be I'm doing different things and it's not working, I will cancel everything. I'll be like, sis, you want to see you today, having some bad anxiety, I'm out. Like I will, everything is canceled. I'm not working. I'm not doing anything. We're focusing on this. And so
Right.
that's part of it too, being able to know when to step back and really take care of my mental well-being. It also looks like having like rituals throughout the day. So I started doing a morning ritual, and that incorporates meditation, gratitude. I do a lot of gratitude, mostly on a daily basis, at least 5 days a week, but sometimes I slack and it's all good. I go on walks, like going on daily walks has drastically changed my mental well-being. And yeah, and I have tools in the toolbox, like my therapist will say. It's just having all the tools in the toolbox, taking whatever tool I need when needed.
So let's talk about some of your tools. Well,
Yeah.
let's first talk about a tool that people who either are experiencing bipolar
Yeah.
or who may believe their loved one or may have a loved one who's just been diagnosed with bipolar.
Yeah.
Let's talk about a tool that they can use.
Yeah.
A cool little book called Letters to My Bipolar Self. So tell us a little bit about this cool little resource that people can use.
Yes. So I will say, kind of like what you said in the beginning about bipolar, is that it just looks different for different people. It's challenging to say, oh, here's a tool for bipolar specifically. So I like to focus on the symptoms. So it's less about, okay, what do you do for bipolar? It's more like, all right, so what symptoms are you experiencing? Is it most of the times depression? Is it most of the times anxiety? And let's talk about how we can help the symptoms. Like I don't, even for myself, I do the same thing. I don't focus too much on what do I do for bipolar. It's more like, what are the symptoms I'm having? What are the challenges I'm having mentally, physically, mind, body, and soul? And how do I tackle that? So, and that's part of the self check-in and being connected to yourself. And so for depression, for example, one of the biggest tips I have for people is to move. And this is really hard when you're depressed because you don't want to move, but in order for you to climb out of the depression slowly, there has to be movement. And it could be anything. It could just be your favorite song and pushing yourself to dance. It could be, let me force myself on a walk, like slowly move to be able to climb out of that depressed state. And one way I like to think about it is if we look at it like on a scale in a set or a rate, grade, whatever you want to call it, let's say 0 is neutral. And let's say neutral is what we aim for, but you're never going to be always 0. Depressive states are really low. It's like you're lower than neutral and you want to climb up towards that middle. And so you have to do whatever activities you can to climb up to reach as close as possible towards that middle. And then with anxiety, you're up here. It's heightened energy. Same for mania, which is also categorized for bipolar. Same for irritability. You want to do things that are bringing you down. And so for anxiety, it may mean meditating. It may mean drinking teas. Like peppermint tea is really good. Chamomile tea is really good at bringing the energy down. Cup of Calm is one of my favorite teas as well for anxiety. Doing things to bring it down. Another thing with depression, to bring it up, forcing yourself around someone or forcing yourself to talk to someone. Again, opposite of what you want to do. But with anxiety, if you're experiencing anxiety, please don't go to a party. Don't go hang out with your girls. You're just gonna keep going like this, or you're gonna be like, oh, I feel good. And it's like my therapist always says, like, sometimes your body doesn't know the difference between excitement and anxiety. So if you're experiencing anxiety, please spend time by yourself. Help bring it down. Now with depression, if you can force yourself to be around people or call someone, that's gonna help you climb.
Okay. So when we are thinking about the people who have the new diagnosis or the people in our lives that may be diagnosed, in addition to getting the book, how do I find resources? How do I find my tribe? So like if I had been more acute, if I had your book 15 years ago when I was reading it and like, hey, my friend, this might be you. So how do I even find support to help her? Because I mean, I think, honestly, at the time when I thinking back to who I was then, I would have thought like, isn't that the one you do like lithium or something, and then you and then you just Go around and as long as we don't trigger you, and you should be good, right? Like, or we just leave you alone and don't say anything. That might be it.
Right.
And so I realized I probably would have been that guy. How do I not be that guy now? What do I do?
I think the first step is remembering what I said about my family and friends, how they support in a non-judgmental way. I think, and this one's challenging if you've either never experienced it or just don't understand mental health challenges.
Mm-hmm.
Try to be as non-judgmental as possible. Like, even if in your head you're like, oh no, just try your best to just be like, listen and just be as non-judgmental as possible. That's number one. And then number two, in terms of resources, if you're looking for therapy, one of the resources I share is psychologytoday.com. There's many resources out there, but I don't want to overwhelm people with too many resources. But what I like about Psychology Today is you can filter what kind of therapist you're looking for. Do you want male, female? Do you want this race? Do you want, even if it's like you're looking for one that specializes in bipolar, you can click bipolar. And you can, and Psychology Today is also good for psychiatrists too, if that's what you're looking for as well. So in terms of getting help, that could be one way for getting help. And you can also filter it by insurance as well, if you have insurance. Another aspect of it too is the self-work, which again can sometimes be hard for some people depending on the space they're in. But if you are, for lack of a better term, stable enough to help yourself, read books, watch videos. Be careful with the videos you watch though, because there's some videos about healing bipolar naturally. That may be possible. I do think it is possible in some cases, but I've seen some extreme ones where I'm like, oh, dude, this is so toxic. But be mindful with what you're watching and reading, but read something that's empowering. And like in terms of my book, shameless plug.
Oh, all shameless plug. We only do shameless here, damn it. If you got shame in your stuff, you don't need to be on the other side of this video. No, thank you, ma'am.
So, Letters to My Bipolar Self. It's a series of 50 loving letters that I wrote to myself. And after writing those letters, and the letters are very raw, very honest, they're happening in real time. Either I wrote the letter in real time or took notes and wrote it later. And the reason why this is a great tool is it shows you an example of that. Yes, you can still love yourself despite whatever challenges you're going through. That's number one. Because I think people think self-love has to be like, oh, I have to be this perfect person. I have to wait until I become this to love myself. Like, no, you love yourself where you are currently. And the second resource that I have based on my book is now I have a signature letter writing activity that I created after writing this book, because I felt like I healed a lot after writing these letters. And I was just like, if I healed a lot from this, can I teach other people to heal the same? And I'm like, yes, I can.
Boom, shakalaka laka.
Literally. And so writing letters to yourself, and there's a way to write it, and that's part of my signature activity. You can't just start writing, because naturally I think we'll butcher ourselves. Oh my gosh, you were so stupid today. What is wrong with you? Why did you do that? Why are you this? But there's a way to write the loving letter. And I do offer letter writing sessions 101. This is like a new service that I'm offering now. And like in my workshops, I also do include my signature letter writing activity. So that's been a major resource that I love sharing with people.
So one of the things that you talked about was the whole issue around self-love. I think one of the challenges with self-love is that we don't know how to actually love, period. We look at love as this highlight, like we want the apex. We want, I am excited, and it's like you want what you're talking about in situations like that is anxiety, not love. And I think some of it, to your point, is really, and again, I'm a really big proponent of therapy, because I got to be honest, I might not be here right now if it wasn't for therapy. Real talk. And so making sure that whether you are a person who has a mental health challenge, or you're somebody working with somebody with a mental health challenge, you might need therapy, because I tell you right quick, working with me is going to take a lot out of you. If you are in my life as a family friend or intimate partner, it's going to some people don't know what self-love is. And so for me,
and that's sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, go ahead. That's what we do here, baby. Come on.
That's true. And it's how we're socialized as a society, right? Like as a kid, it's okay, be nice to Tommy, okay, sharing. And that's great. I'm not saying that that's bad. That's amazing. We need to.
I'll say that that's bullshit. I'll say that. You don't got to say it. It's my show. I'll say that bullshit. Oh, damn,
Yeah,
that's another $20. Damn it.
but it's still important. Like I think it isn't. We need to be aware of people around us. So that is good,
Yes.
but no one really talks about loving yourself in a healthy way. When I talk about self-love, please,
Yeah,
please,
healthy.
folks,
Yeah.
healthy way. We're not talking about, I'm not even gonna get into details. We're not talking about like loving yourself because you are perfect. No, we're not talking about
No,
that.
it,
but
but again, that's because we don't understand what real love is.
yeah,
We look for people who are perfect, our perfect fit, our soulmate, all of these hyperbolic things. And
right.
then 2 years in, 2 days in, it's like, yo, you still breathe? Like, why are you still breathing? Like, just hold it for a while and let's see what happens. I don't
Yeah.
think you can, like, because got caught up in that feeling, but not recognizing. My ex-wife said something to me once that it hurt me to my heart, which was the truest shit I've ever heard. Because I figured I'm already fine. I'm gonna keep going. Is she said love is important, but compatibility means more. In
Yeah.
my head, I was like,
Yeah.
you just don't love me because I'm not working. But as
That's true.
an official grown up divorcee, looking back, I'm
Yeah.
like, oh no, yeah, no, you got yeah, that's a thing. It's a
Yeah.
story in my head. Oh, thanks, Rico. Yo, you know what, Brandy? I'm getting tired of you counting. Like you need to let Donnie handle his own business counting my money. Damn it.
She getting a cut. She getting a cut. That's why.
You know what? I think that might be what's happening. They got a whole side deal going on, trying to get in my pocket. Yeah, that's
Commission. I
cool.
ain't mad at her.
But like one of I am so grateful for the insight.
Yeah.
And because we want to do better. Like we love people and we want to be able to love them in a way that is supportive.
Yeah.
And not just one, to one of the things you said before is that one of the other challenges is that we live a lot of our lives learning through bullying.
Yeah.
Why did you do that? What's wrong with you?
Yeah.
And everything needs to be fixed.
Yeah.
Like, and well, actually, we got a couple minutes because Donnie he went a little long, so I'm gonna take a couple extra minutes today, especially since I'm paying all this money. I gotta, I paid for the show today, so I can say what I want at this point. Um, what was that like what was that like for you?
Yeah. I mean, really, for lack of a better term, it was just a journey because, like I said, I barely liked myself. And then on top of that, the thoughts in my mind that I used to have were just so negative and so mean. And so, oh my gosh, it was just, I used to bully myself in my head. I mean, it was really, really bad. But like I said, when I broke down and I was reborn, that's why instantly I was like, Glenda, those thoughts used to be really negative. Like, you used to be really mean to yourself. We need to fix that. And so it was a process, but it was just a process about challenging thoughts that would come up. If I'm
Right.
just like, oh, why are you so stupid? No. We don't call ourselves that. Like things like that, using terms of endearment. And you see that in my book. Now, my book, in some ways, is exaggerated because I'm like having fun with it. But like, I've reached to the point where now terms of endearment happens every day in my mind. It's normal. It's like, okay, sweetheart, even if something's wrong, sweetheart, yes, you're in a depressed state, but you're gonna get over this. Like that self-talk. I had to learn new language. I had to learn new phrases.
Right. So what I did is because I had a very similar experience, not necessarily with bipolar, but this whole self-talk, what I realized that one, it wasn't even my voice. It was the voice of the elders who raised me because that's what they learned.
Yeah.
And so part of it was also kind of deprogramming that and realizing it might not be right. Like, because that's all I knew. It's like when somebody doesn't, you yell. It's like, what did you do that for? You can express that. That's the way you do it. Except at church and except at school. And it was this learned power dynamic. Yeah. It's like, you do what people in power tell you, and all of these things led to poor mental health outcomes. And one of the things that it sounds like is that a lot of the way that we engage children, or what it feels like, how we engage children becomes their voices later on. And if we don't teach them what self-care looks like, self-care isn't your birthday party. Yeah. Self-care is making sure your clothes are clean, not because it's obsessive because somebody says you have to. It's making yourself feel good and setting boundaries that don't allow people to penetrate those. Exactly. That, if we start there, if we start with mental health and getting a salient definition, especially what it means for Black people,
Yeah.
Doesn't mean being happy. Doesn't mean being successful. Doesn't mean having all of the check marks. Because I know a lot of people who showed up in red flannel pajamas for Christmas in messed up relationships. I'm gonna at least save $20 today. Because not putting nobody's business out. Some of them, I personally know that their relationships are not
Right.
good.
Right.
But them red flannel pajamas,
Right.
picture for
The photo
Christmas,
shoot. Yep.
it was like, and I know you fought on the way to the photo shoot. But red flannel pajamas, and it is one of those things. Is like, so a lot of times our self-care is limited because we separate the how we show up in the world as the proxy for who we are in the world.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
Yeah.
because everybody likes you doesn't make you a good person. You can be an asshole that people, damn it, damn.
You're doing good. We're almost done.
I think that might be the time I need to wrap it up. So, but again, I told you this is big.
Yeah.
Like the stigma associated with bipolar
Yep.
is damning in certain cases. Like all of it, and you know what? Okay, I'm gonna take 3 extra minutes. All right, 3 extra minutes. So, what is it that you want people to know?
Yeah.
Whether they are a caregiver, a person diagnosed, or whatever, what do you want them to know?
Yeah. So the first thing I want you to know is trust me from experience. I'm going to speak directly into the camera. Mental health challenges are real. That's number one. And that's one of the reasons why I show my face in my brand, because I want people to see not only that I'm a real person, but I'm a Black woman with bipolar who has mental health challenges. So take care of your mental well-being, whether you have a challenge or not, whether you have a diagnosis or not. Don't be like me. Don't wait until
the break.
Don't wait. Exactly. Don't wait until you're having a psychotic breakdown and hospitalized to be like, oh, maybe I didn't take care. Don't be like me. Just take care of your mental well-being as a whole. Don't wait until an issue comes up. And the second thing I want to say is, if you do have a condition, if you do have a diagnosis, do not let this diagnosis overcome your whole life. You are bigger than this diagnosis. You are not this diagnosis.
Say it again. Say it again.
You are not this diagnosis. It's something you have. Like, you will not hear me say I am bipolar. Like, I just have bipolar. Bipolar is not all of me. I am more than just bipolar. So don't let a diagnosis stop you from living. Don't let some of these clinicians that are diagnosing you like, yeah, whatever, bipolar, good luck with your life. Don't let that stop you from living. Like, I kid you not, I'm literally living my best life now with bipolar than I ever did because of my perception of mental health and my condition.
Oh, I didn't know you were going to do just a commercial for the book at this point, girl. With your bad stuff. Go ahead and kick it in.
Drop that mic.
Yeah, there it is. And we're done, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for to Glenda Lezeau for really, you did an amazing job. Thank you so much. And real talk, I am grateful for you having the courage to have this conversation publicly, because a lot of it is the stigma associated keeps us quiet. Like that's why, I try to be as transparent as I can with a lot of my health problems or mental health problems, because it's rough. And one of the biggest problems I had is I didn't want anybody to find out, to know I had this type of problem, because I didn't want them to look at me and then be like, oh, poor William. Or I was afraid that they wouldn't be able to think that they could count on me or trust me. And so there was years where I just tried to keep it to myself.
Yeah. I did the same thing, by the way.
Oh, okay.
It took me from 2011.
All right, so maybe 4 minutes. We're gonna do extra. Yeah, all right. 5 minutes.
It took 2017. I was diagnosed 2017. Even though I felt it in the hospital, where I was like, "You need to help people." Almost 6 years.
Wow.
And I was like, you know what, Glenda? No, rip the band, stop. And honestly, it took another breakdown. Like 2016, I didn't tell y'all about this, but the second breakdown I had was 2016. It took that breakdown. It wasn't a major breakdown, though. It wasn't, I wasn't hospitalized, but I had a aha moment. If you don't start helping people, and then that's when I ripped the Band-Aid. Yeah, it's challenging. Thank you, Kiana. See, this is what I'm talking about, support, man. Love you, girl. Thank you.
Yeah, and honestly, you were just talking about them. They show up for you. Like, that's what I'm talking about. Yeah. Like, I appreciate those people in my life that show up for me. Exactly. And Kiana, shout out to you, because this is an example of what that support looks like.
Exactly. And that's why I like talking about it. Because I'm like, this, to help people who want to support others, if you, whatever the thing is, whatever the case is. So Yeah. So
All
appreciate
right.
it.
So you know what? I think I should probably let you go,
Yeah.
because I got I went over 5 minutes, so that's probably like another $50. But then I got a lot of cursing going. You know what? I'm gonna go look for some jobs real quick, and because apparently this ain't gonna be paying well. But honestly, it's absolutely worth it, because
Yeah.
this is something that we need to talk about more in our community.
Yeah.
Because if we don't deal with if
Thank
we
you,
don't,
Karima. My college buddy. Thanks,
your
love.
people come out heavy. I love it.
Listen. That could be another show. That could be a whole other show because I do have
Do
something to say
not
about
threaten
that.
me with a good time, because we need to, a real talk. That might be a whole show about what does support look like, and
Yep.
bring people who have been supportive in and talk about, because it may look different from their perspective.
Exactly.
And
Yep.
then, there may be some things about, because I know I found out some things about people who support me and what it took for them to support me that I did not know,
Right.
which made me even more grateful, because I was like, oh wow, it was that. Wow.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
you know what? You are too easy to talk to. Damn it! You are about to get me in trouble. I want to keep my show. Stop playing with me. All right. Let me tell them how they can get in contact with you and stuff.
Yep. So
All
this
the
is the
way.
link for my letter writing sessions, but you can just go on my website, my main website, glendalezeau.com. Purchase my book on Amazon. Follow me on Instagram. Thank you, girl. See my girl Kiana.
Yo, you know what? You know what? We're gonna put your squad together and do a master class on the public support. That's what we're gonna do with your squad.
So grateful. And for those of y'all who are watching but didn't comment and you're supporting me, thank you so much. Thanks for showing up. For those of you who I'm just meeting today, thank you so much for sharing space with me. And William, thank you so much for
Oh,
sharing space with me,
hell
having
yeah.
me on the show. I'm so grateful.
Absolutely. And real talk, be sure that you understand that you will be back again. Um, and we've been talking about March being the morning show month of women, making sure that we have an opportunity to tell women have an opportunity to tell their stories, because I want to leave the March shows as a love letter to my goddaughters, so
Ooh.
that they understand what it's like to be a Black woman, and not just what experience they may have, but experiences other Black women may have as well, so that they can really appreciate their sisterhood.
Yeah.
So you are absolutely coming back for that. I'd be damned.
I'm down. I'm down. I'm already saying yes. Just tell me
And
the
it's
date.
recorded, so I got you, baby.
Just email me the date, the calendar invitation. It's a yes.
Cool in the gang. Thank you so much, Glenda.
Thank you. No
All right, have a
problem.
great one.
Thanks, you too.
Whew, didn't I tell you we do it here? And a big shout out to Glenda's people that came through to support. We had a great time. A lot of good information. You all and I have been blessed. I'm gonna go ahead and wait to get my email about what is the show notes. Again, big shout out to Fosterpreneur, and we love what we do, and thank you so much, Glenda, and we will catch you all tomorrow. Let's go ahead and get up out of here. Have a great one.